lounging, son.
Welcome back to the Comic Lounge. My name's Ryan, and today I'm going to be going through the 1996 annual of Untold Tales of Spider-Man. And as you can see, really sick Mike Allred cover. Before I get into that, I just want to thank you. If you are already subscribed to the channel, we appreciate all the support here at Comic Lounge. And if you're not, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check out some of the dope content on the channel. We go through single issues, we go through hardcovers, we go through artist editions, we go through zines, interviews, indie creators, big names, all that good stuff. So hit that subscribe button. And now let's jump into this issue. I've been on a big Mike Allred kick. You can probably tell because I interviewed him recently. So just been scooping up some of the stuff that's been, glaring holes in my collection. And this was one of them. I discovered it through cartoonist kayfabe, but I wanted to, share my thoughts on the issue as well. And boy, I was not disappointed. To be honest with you, I didn't watch the full episode because I didn't want the comic to be spoiled. And I'm glad I didn't because this was so much fun. And they've mentioned it too, on Cartoonist Kayfabe, how great some of these Untold Tales of Spider-Man issues were. And they were very affordable. I think back then, only $1.95 for this annual. I think this series was maybe 99 cents. I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you got Kurt Busiek writing. I love his writing from this era. Astro City, his Thunderbolts. He did a lot of Avengers with George Perez. A lot of great stuff. Then you team him up with Mike Allred. And who's inking Mike Allred? Yeah, Joe Sinnott. Dude, this is a collection of talent that you just don't see often. I love this. It's a young Peter, so he's in the middle of trying to take down these jewel thieves, and who comes in but the Human Torch. By the way, I love the line marks that they used to put on Human Torch. I wish they'd still do that. I really dig that part about him. And of course, Johnny's gonna take the credit. He's mocking Spider-Man. They don't have that friendship yet, so he's like, "Oh, I wish you could have seen the look on your face, the way you were huffing and puffing." And so he's pissed. He's like, "No good glory, grandstanding glory hound." And then I love this. This is so great. Mike Allred does the greatest facial expressions on his characters. I really dig it. Definitely has some Madman energy in here. And Spider-Man is going to try to figure out a way to get Human Torch back. And that is the entire precedent of this issue. Then we go over to here at the Baxter building, and we see off camera somebody saying, "Oh, Reed," and it's Sue Storm trying to get Reed's attention. I really... this is something else you don't really see. He's smoking a pipe. They kind of got rid of that. The cigar smoking for Wolverine, the cigar smoking for Nick Fury. And that all took place during the Quesada era at Marvel. And, rightfully so. I understand, why you'd want to take that out of comic books. It just reminds me of a time where you would see this, and it was commonplace. And we see Sue Storm trying to get Reed's attention. He's too busy with his experiments, so she's upset. Like, what am I, just his secretary? Love the back and forth between Thing and Human Torch as well. And another thing, Mike Allred, some of the most beautiful women in comic books. He draws beautiful women. I love his rendition of Sue Storm. She's noticeably upset, and then she says why, and at first Human Torch and Thing are ready to help her, but then they were like, it's just Reed, and he just teased her, like, if you were still gaga over that fish-faced Submariner. And then she yells at Johnny. Spider-Man comes in, and he comes to ask Sue out on a date. And little does he realize she's down. And Torch is pissed. Spider-Man can't believe it. Now he's going to go on a date with the Invisible Girl, as she was called then. Before they changed it to Invisible Woman. Torch is pissed. He's like, how could you do that? You're like, well, at least he's attentive. Get a little humor here. Women, they're an alien species. And I love this when we come back to Peter. He's still in high school and he's daydreaming about his date with the Invisible Girl. These faces right here, so good. And it's interesting to see Allred's art with Sinnott's line work over it. It definitely gives a different vibe. It's almost like creating a different artist. It definitely almost has like a pop art quality to it that definitely I would say Allred was known for, but it has just like with these colors, it's not Laura Allred coloring. You got Steve Mattson on colors, so just different energy, and you see him like the Peter Parker look. Betty wants to get together. He's like, I can't tonight. And so she gets mad at him. And he realizes that no matter what, he's always got something going wrong. I love the addition of this bow tie made of webs. And they take the breakaway modules of the Fantastic Car. They go on their date. Torch is not going to let this go down. He's going to try to break up this date any way he can. And all the while they're about to go, he has no money to be able to take her out. He's a high school kid. So he's like, let's go there. And so they go to a pizza place. We see Torch going right over the Atlantic Ocean. And why? Because now he's going to manipulate Submariner into saying that Spider-Man kidnapped her so he can break this date up however he can. And it's just like these little things, right? Like they're on a date and things you wouldn't normally like really think would be included, right? Her licking her finger because she's eating. The gooiness of the cheese as he's taking a bite. Her wiping her hand. It's these little things that just, I don't know, they're so additive to the story and the scene of really building out what's happening instead of, where maybe some artists just have them sitting there, right, talking, not actually in action of doing things. And then he's annoyed because all she's talking about is other guys, talking about Reed and Namor. Namor breaks through. We get a fight scene between Namor and Spider-Man, which is not something you normally see. Really dig these pages. And this particular face, to me, just had like a really strong John Buscema vibe to it. And then we see that, Namor's saying like, oh, you kidnapped Susan Storm. And now Peter's starting to realize, okay, something's going wrong here. I smell a rat. And this pizza place is destroyed. But he doesn't care because now it's gonna bring customers. He's gonna change the name to Pizza Fantastico. And so this is where Sue's gonna realize that Johnny had something to do with it. See him laugh and we see this look on his face. Definitely some Frank Einstein vibes from Mad Men. Just love this too. Again, I've mentioned this in other episodes, these magentas that you don't really see utilized as much anymore in the background. Really good fight scenes between Spidey and Namor. Susan comes in to stop it with an invisible force field and lets Namor know exactly what happened. Apologizes to Sue for the mistake. Reed realizes he's been an idiot neglecting her. So we wrap it up in a really nice way. But Spidey's not done with Torch yet. And then we see him about an hour and a half later walking home in Forest Hills, sees his Aunt May, and she's like, oh, in the morning I'll make your favorite breakfast wheat cakes. That'd be great, Aunt May, he says. And he's like, it was pretty typical, but he forgot to mention for that it means lousy. But he says, somehow I have the feeling the Torch won't be bothering me for a while. So Sue's yelling at Johnny. He goes to the garage to work on his car, and what happens? Spidey had webbed it up to the ceiling. He's like, my webbing dissolves in an hour. I was here at 10:30. Look up and ask yourself what time it is. And then he realized, and then you see it's time for that webbing to go out, and it crashes and it ends. We have the end of the story. We get to see some full page pinups and a little bit of almost bios of these characters of some of his most famous foes. But as you'll see, Amazing Fantasy Spider-Man 16, those never existed, not to my knowledge, so unless it was one of those times they relaunched it. But you get the Undertaker, Joey Pulaski, and these pinups are Sal Buscema, Jim Mooney. We get this one by Gil Kane for Supercharger, The Scorcher by Pat Olive and Klaus Janson, Mike Wieringo and Cam Smith doing this Batwing character, Spaceman by Mark Bagley and Mark Farmer, and The Wizard by Ron Frenz and Sal Buscema. And this is Untold Tales of Spider-Man, so I'm assuming that maybe some of these characters have appeared, in other comic books. We get this, how Kurt Busiek and Pat Olive recreate Untold Tales. I love this. Super fun story. A guided tour to the world of Untold Tales. And one more thing. The recipe for Aunt May's wheat cakes. You can't end the comic without giving us that recipe. I love this. Super fun. But what a great comic book. One of the best Spidey comics that I've read in a long time. This is my first time reading it. And I have to say, this is this kind of stuff that I love about Spider-Man. So if you haven't read this, go pick it up. Super easy to find. And while you're at it, make sure you like, follow, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're notified every time a new vid drops. And on that note, I'm out.